I'm here tonight to blow the lid off it, to be the whistleblower. I'm sick and tired of the secrets and the lies. It is the secret symbol of the Illuminati, and you're a part of it.
My intention was to get in there and kick up some dust and try to become a whistleblower that they don't knock off. Because, you know, they get all the whistles.
3 clips, 3 moments, all from the same man. A man who spent 30 years making the world laugh, and then one day stopped being funny entirely because what he was saying wasn't a punchline anymore. And then he disappeared. And when he came back, something was different. Something was wrong. But here's what nobody is connecting. February 2025, Paris, France, the 51st César Awards, France's most prestigious film ceremony, the equivalent of the Oscars. Jim Carrey, 64 years old, walks onto that stage to receive an honorary Lifetime Achievement Award. It should have been a celebration, a legend being recognized. Instead, it set the internet on fire. Not because of his speech, not because of the award, because of him. People who had watched Jim Carrey their entire lives, fans who grew up with The Mask, The Truman Show, Dumb and Dumber, looked at that footage and said out loud, "That is not Jim Carrey." His eyes looked different. Where they were once distinctly brown, they now appeared a striking shade of green-blue. His jawline looked altered. His teeth looked different. His voice, that unmistakable, elastic, manic voice, sounded softer, slower, sedated, and his energy gone. The wild man, the chaos agent, the guy who could contort his entire face into another dimension, was calm, composed, almost rehearsed. One person online wrote, "There's no way in hell that was Jim Carrey." Another said, "They're testing us one last time like they did with Biden." And then the word started trending, clone.
There is no me.
There's no you. Now here's the thing. This wasn't some random person. This was Jim Carrey, a man who for years refused to play the Hollywood game, who gave interviews where he said he didn't believe in personalities, didn't believe in icons, didn't believe he even existed, who stood on red carpets and told reporters to their face, "None of this is real." That was the Jim Carrey the world knew. A man who seemed to have seen behind the curtain and couldn't unsee it. So when a calm, sentimental, perfectly behaved version of him showed up in Paris to graciously accept an award from the very industry he once mocked fans didn't buy it. Quorum, they didn't recognize him. And some believe that's because the person in Paris wasn't him at all. To understand why the clone theory exploded the way it did, you have to understand what Jim Carrey was saying in the years before he went quiet. This wasn't a man who dropped vague hints. He was direct, he was loud, and he said it on some of the most watched stages in the world. At the BAFTAs, he accused the powerful of shielding abusers. He called out contempt for truth. He said shamelessness was a villain's trait. The room applauded, the cameras rolled, and somewhere, allegedly, someone was taking notes. Then came the night that allegedly got him watched. On live television, during a Jimmy Kimmel appearance, Jim Carrey grabbed his tongue, made a specific gesture, and told the audience that every talk show host in Hollywood had been, in his words, hired by the government to distract them, to make them laugh, to keep them docile. He mentioned people gathering naked in the woods to make decisions. He called it the symbol of the all-mocking tongue. He said it was the Illuminati, and he wasn't whispering. He was laughing, but his eyes weren't.
Years now, talk show hosts, people on television, people in sitcoms have been hired by the government to throw you off the track, to distract you, to make you laugh and stuff like that, make you happy and docile so you don't know what's really going on.
Now, Katt Williams, who has been saying similar things for years, who nearly got canceled multiple times for saying similar things, was asked directly, "Aren't you afraid of being blackballed by these powerful people?" His answer is the most important part of this story. Here's where the narrative takes a darker turn, and this is the part that even people who dismiss conspiracy theories have a hard time explaining away. In 2015, Jim Carrey's former girlfriend, Catriona White, died. She was 30 years old. The official ruling was suicide, but the circumstances surrounding her death raised questions that never fully went away. The toxicology report revealed multiple substances in her system, including medication prescribed under an alias believed to be linked to Jim Carrey. The last person she had spoken to was Jim. He texted her the night before asking about missing pills from his medicine cabinet. She didn't respond. Her body was found 4 days later, and when it was discovered, Jim Carrey was called before her own family.
They called Jim Carrey first when they found her body after finding her cell phone, before they even called her family.
Supporters of the sacrifice theory allege that Catriona's death was not what it appeared, that it was a warning, a message sent directly to Jim Carrey at a moment when he was at his loudest. his most vocal about what he claimed was happening inside the industry. Shortly after, Jim went quiet. He stepped back from public life. He stopped doing interviews. He stopped the rants. And many fans say that's when the real Jim Carrey effectively disappeared. Now here's where Kanye West enters the picture. Kanye West himself, a man who has publicly claimed to have seen behind the curtain, began posting and speaking about the clone allegations surrounding Jim Carrey. And the reason people took it seriously isn't because Kanye said it. It's because Kanye had already described the same system being used on him. He posted publicly about receiving a threatening message from his former trainer, Harley Pasternak. A message that reportedly said, and this was posted publicly by Kanye himself, that if Kanye didn't sit down, cooperate, and stop talking, he would be institutionalized again, medicated, turned into, in the message's own alleged words, zombie land forever. And remember Kanye's 2016 breakdown, the one that sent him to a psychiatric facility for evaluation? Reports say it happened at Harley Pasternak's house, the same man who allegedly sent that message. So when Kanye looked at Jim Carrey's Paris appearance, the calm demeanor, the sedated energy, the sudden reversal of everything Jim had been saying for a decade, and said, "This is what it looks like after they get you," people listened differently, because Kanye wasn't just speculating. He was allegedly describing a process he had almost lived through himself. Now let's step back, because here's what makes this entire story feel less like internet conspiracy and more like something that demands attention: the timing. Jim Carrey resurfaced in Paris in early 2025, right as the Epstein files were being picked through by investigators, journalists, and online researchers worldwide. Right as the state of New Mexico officially reopened a criminal inquiry into Zorro Ranch, Epstein's sprawling property that survivors have described in detail. Right as a bipartisan commission was formed to investigate allegations of abuse and trafficking at that property. The files that were released contained emails. Those emails referenced things that, just a few years ago, would have been dismissed as the ramblings of a deranged conspiracy theorist, including, according to researchers citing the documents, references to cloning, references to blood transfusions for anti-aging, references to what some have described as human hunts on private property.
Many of the survivors had experiences in New Mexico, and as we've learned, there were local politicians and other people that were aware of what was happening. And
Katt Williams had warned us. He said the number one job of someone on the inside is to act like nothing happened. He said they pay people specifically to not talk about certain things. He said it is a cabal, a consortium, and he said this while naming Harvey Weinstein before most of the world had even heard what Weinstein had done. He was right about that. So when Katt looks at Jim Carrey, a man who called out the Illuminati on live television, who warned children against entering Hollywood, who allegedly hinted at Epstein's network years before the arrests, and implies that what happened to Jim is what happens when they get you, it's worth sitting with that for a moment. Here's the question nobody wants to answer directly. If Jim Carrey was not cloned, if the man in Paris is the real Jim Carrey, then what explains the full reversal, not just in appearance, in philosophy? This is a man who told a reporter to her face that he didn't believe in personalities, that there was no Jim Carrey, that peace lay beyond invention and disguise, that we were all just a field of energy dancing for itself. And then after years of silence, he shows up in Paris, smiling, playing the part, thanking the industry, accepting the award, performing the exact persona he had publicly dismantled and declared dead. Did something happen to convince him to come back? Did someone reach out or threaten or offer something? Or is it as a growing number of people now openly believe that the man who came back is not the man who left?
I don't believe in personalities. I don't believe that you exist, but there is a wonderful fragrance in the air.
You don't believe certain icons have the power to make change, to think differently, to be bold, to inspire others? Artistry? You're one of them.
On the good foot. Ha! Yeah. You shut her down now. Yeah, no, I don't believe in icons. I don't believe in personalities. I believe that peace lies beyond personality, beyond invention and disguise, beyond the red S that you wear on your chest that makes bullets bounce off. I believe that it's deeper than that. I believe we're a field of energy dancing for itself.
Katt Williams tried to warn us. He said they get all the whistleblowers. Kanye West tried to warn us. He said the process exists. He nearly went through it himself. And Jim Carrey, he spent 30 years warning us. He called out the Illuminati on television. He questioned vaccines. He painted scathing political portraits. He told us in his own words that personalities are costumes and that the real person lives somewhere underneath. The question isn't whether you believe in clones. The question is, what does it take to completely erase a person's spirit? Medication can do it. Institutionalization can do it. Grief can do it. Fear can do it. And according to Katt Williams, so can selling your soul to a system that paid you to stay quiet all along. The Epstein files didn't just expose a predator, they cracked open a world that people like Jim Carrey, Katt Williams, and Kanye West had been describing loudly, publicly, at great personal cost for years before anyone was ready to listen. The man who showed up in Paris may have Jim Carrey's name. He may be wearing Jim Carrey's face, but the man who stood on a red carpet and told the world, "There is no me," the man who blew the lid off it and begged people to wake up, that man has not been seen in a very long time. And maybe, just maybe, that's exactly what they wanted. Do you think the Jim Carrey we saw in Paris is the real one? Drop your thoughts below. And if you think they silenced him, you might want to watch what Katt Williams said next.